Well, good morning. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming along. As I was preparing for this morning, I did some reflecting. And I thought about how the working world has changed since I started my career. And what those changes could be, I wanted to share with you this morning to see if you remembered some of them. So, picture this, if you will. A typical working day in the early 2000s, nearly 20 years ago. You would have been woken up by your Philips digital alarm clock, which you would have hit snooze several times to stop the radio from playing. You would have got ready for work, and on your way out the door, you would have grabbed your digital camera and your Nokia 3210 to see if you had any missed calls or text messages from last night, text messages under 459 characters. And you would have realised that you were set for any boring meetings that may have happened that day because you had the game Snake ready to go. You would have hopped in your car, where if you were going somewhere new that day, you would have had to been organised and printed out your directions of where to go to. And if you weren't organised, you would have grabbed your map book out of the glove box to look up the address. You would have then popped your mixed CD into the CD player, which you would have probably downloaded from Napster with some sort of tunes like Destiny's Child or Eminem, and you would have been on your way. You would have got to work where it would have been your first opportunity to turn on your computer or laptop and see the emails that were waiting for you. And throughout that day, you would have used the fax machine as a point of communication. So no doubt the world has changed since that point in time. There was no smartphones, there was no Google Maps app, there was no Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Uber, Spotify. Amazon was only selling books. And there was definitely no selfies. So undoubtedly the world has changed, and we know that this pace of change is only increasing. In fact, we know that computer processing speed on average doubles every 2 years. And we've created in the last 2 years more data than there existed in the entire human history beforehand. Now, I don't know about you guys, but those facts blow my mind. This rate of change is only continuing, and no one knows what the future will look like, but what we know is that it presents significant opportunity for those that are brave enough to embrace it. So, why would you listen to me? Why is someone from Lion standing up here on stage, one of New Zealand's oldest companies and a drinks company, talking about the future of work? Well, I'm really proud to say that Lion is one of those companies that's embracing this change, that's really living that evolve or die mentality, and is actively looking to disrupt itself through the creation of my team, Lion Ventures. Our role at Lion Ventures is to actively disrupt Lion, is to create new revenue streams and move Lion to remain relevant with consumers as the times change. Lion's purpose is around helping people connect and live well. And for us at Lion Ventures, we're looking for new revenue streams that answer to this purpose, basically anything that's not a drink, doesn't come in a bottle. Quite a mind shift. And there's significant opportunities that we're looking at the moment around that. So we started our journey just over a year ago with one of our key partners, TRA, and we put the question to them around how this world of connection and sociability will change over the next 5 to 10 years. They gave us this great tool. They identified 4 cultural currents that we could look to tap into. The first of this is ascendant self, so the fact that wellness, holistic wellness, being both mental and physical, will change over the next 5 to 10 years. The next current was relationship revolution, so the impact that technology will have in how we meet people and how we conduct our relationships and how we interact day to day. The third current was super inclusivity, which is really the celebration of diversity. So how are we standing up for what we believe is right for a fair and just diverse society? And the fourth current was rework, and that's really what I want to drill into today. Rework is about this changing world of work, the move away from the Monday to Friday 9 till 5, and the impact that technology has on that. These 4 currents have allowed us to identify a portfolio of opportunities that we're now working on. Different opportunities from wellness cafes, community spaces, digital platforms, and even insights platforms. Awesome opportunities. So this world of rework is what I want to talk to today, and there's 3 key drivers that I want to talk you through: millennials, flexibility, and technology. And I've got 3 people that I want to introduce you to, people that I work with, that should hopefully bring each of these drivers to life. But before I do that, I want to show you a quick video to bring to life some of the opportunities that exist. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a taste as to how significant the changes are and the opportunities that are out there. Now, the first driver I want to talk you through today is millennials. Millennials are born in the early 1980s to the early 2000s. But before I go any further, I'd just like to get an understanding. Can I get a show of hands who here identifies themselves as a millennial? Nice. Oh, wow. Significant. You guys are going to love this next part. It's all about you guys, so it's pretty cool. The first person I want to introduce you to is Eddie. Eddie is one of the millennials on my team, and Eddie brings the style. Eddie is very hardworking and passionate, and he would like to open his own business one day. Eddie has also just moved to the North Shore. So for him at the moment, flexibility to avoid the traffic and work-life balance to maximise the time at the beach is really important. So we know that millennials are significant. Globally, they make up the largest proportion of the workforce. And here in New Zealand, they make up just over 1/3 of the workforce. They are significant, and they're only going to increase. And they're looking for 3 things from employers. The first of which is flexibility. And actually, millennials are seeing flexibility as an employer's mandate. They have to be offering it. Millennials are born into a socially and a climate-challenged world, so they're looking for opportunities to balance that out. With flexibility, millennials are really moving into this conscious consumption. So for them, that is really important, that whole work-life balance. The second point that millennials are looking for is purpose. 59% of millennials would work for a company that aligns with their values and purpose, even if it paid them less. Purpose counts. They're looking for companies that, yes, have brands and companies that, yes, have style, but they also want the substance. They want that real authenticity, and they want to work for a place that is addressing this socially and climate-challenged world that I mentioned. The third point here about millennials is that they're hugely entrepreneurial. 1/3 of millennials that are out there now already have their own side hustle, whether that's for their own development, for their own revenue stream, or just for fun. And this links back to the earlier point around flexibility, is they want that flexibility to be able to grow that and encourage that side hustle too. It all taps in together. One point I want to make before I move off millennials is Gen Z. They're coming hot on the heels of millennials, and everything we're seeing about Gen Z hints to the fact that what we're seeing is only going to continue. So Gen Z were born through the GFC. They're a digital native generation, but they're just like the millennials in that they're fiercely independent and they're also hugely entrepreneurial. So things we're starting to see from millennials is only going to continue to increase. And it presents opportunity for those of us that are willing to embrace it. So the second person I want to introduce you to is Helen. And this is really bringing to life the world of flexibility, the second driver I want to talk to. Now, I know this looks like a professional photo, but actually Helen really does work with me. She sits behind me next to the window, and she looks after our coffee business. She's our strategy lead. And Helen, like a lot of us at Lion, is really big into flexibility. Helen works a variety of different hours across the week and from a variety of different locations. We know that employees that the most happiest and productive are those that have got the best work-life balance. So how can we look to start offering that? What we're seeing about flexibility at the moment is just the start. Studies have told us that people are really only productive for less than 3 hours in any one working day. Some of you all might be able to identify with days when you've only been productive for a couple of hours. Now, there are some companies out there that are already embracing this trend. And they're going, how can we offer our employees full-time pay but ask them to work 4 days a week? Perpetual Guardian in Christchurch, or even the Shake Shack in the US, they're trialling these methods. And what they're finding is that employees are more engaged, are more productive, and less stressed. But this flexibility is just the start. We know that when we talked as part of our research to people, they said that 3/4 of them would or does find that productivity is improved when they have flexibility. And there's significant commercial upside for businesses that embrace that. But how do we do that? We need to change our mindset as to what flexibility is. We need to stop thinking about work as a place we go to actually something we do. Work stopping being about your inputs, you're sitting at your desk Monday to Friday, to actually being about your outputs. So what you're producing, regardless of where you are when you're producing it or what time of day it is when you're producing it. And that's a fundamental mind shift in how we can support people to work their best way. What we need to start thinking about is, what does the flexibility of tomorrow look like? For employees, it might be actually moving away from a career that is a succession of jobs, a linear succession, to building a portfolio of jobs. So what different projects, potentially working for multiple employers at the same time with a variety of different hours. From an employer point of view, flexibility of tomorrow could look like an increase in the contingent workforce. So having more consultants, more contractors working for you. There's opportunities there in terms of managing your overheads and optimizing your on-demand workforce to be when you really need it. Another opportunity around flexibility of tomorrow for employers is the dispersed real estate model. So moving away from having one head office to having a number of satellite offices where people can work from. And then how do you provide the culture to support that disbursement? Lots of opportunities, and there is tools out there already that exist to support that. Tools like Slack or Upwork that are supporting this world of flexibility. This brings me on nicely to my third driver that I want to talk about in technology. And you can't talk about the future of work or the gig economy without talking about technology. And I want to tell you a bit about Mel. Mel is our social media manager on the venture that we're launching this week. Mel is based in Tauranga with her husband Lyndon and her staffy puppy Odom, and we work really closely with her when we're based in Auckland. Mel's a social media manager, and she's very entrepreneurial, so has started her own social media company. In fact, opportunities that wouldn't have existed a number of years ago due to technology developments. We have tools now that exist that enable us to work seamlessly with Mel around mobile devices and communication tools to really support that working relationship. 65% of kids that start school today will be walking into jobs when they finish their education that don't yet exist. And 10 years ago, there were certain roles that didn't exist. Jobs like social media manager, like Mel, app developer, Zumba instructor, Uber driver, roles that didn't exist 10 years ago that do exist now. We know that 2/3 of jobs are vulnerable to being replaced via automation. In fact, automation, robotics, AI, they're going to increase productivity, absolutely, but they produce a real risk to the jobs that are out there in terms of replacing roles, but also providing opportunities for new roles and creating new economic growth in the economy. So, how can we start to look at what's going on to move forward? Firstly, I talked about that portfolio career before. How can we keep building out our portfolio of skills to go with it? How are we getting that training there? And that second point around humanity, celebrating humanity, the things that robots can't automate, celebrating problem solving, creativity, and human connection, and how we can embrace this. Now, technology is a driver that we've tapped into for the venture that we're about to launch this week, and I'd like to share a wee video with you on that. Cool, so that's Yowo. Yowo is our Uber for workspaces. Yowo is a digital platform that we've created that connects entrepreneurs and flexi workers with workspaces, whether they're bars, restaurants, cafes, hotels, or even co-working spaces. And what's great about Yowo is we're working to create a community of these workers, because we know that when you're an entrepreneur or a flexi worker, it can be a bit isolating or a bit lonely sometimes. And this fits in really beautifully to our purpose with Yowo, which is all about helping people live their best life, giving them the tools to work when they want and where they want it. And Lion's really excited about Yowo as well, so much so that we're giving all Lion employees a Yowo membership to help them live that flexi life. So what? What should we be thinking about as we leave here today? We know that the companies that will win in the future are those that will have the best workplace to attract the best talent. How can we attract the best talent and create the best workplace? 3 things to think about. Firstly, what's your why? What's your purpose? How are you creating an authentic culture that lives the values and really walks the talk? Like I talked about before, the millennials that will take the pay hit to work for a company that aligns with their values and purpose. Purpose counts. How do you link that all through to what you do? A great example is a company in the US called Sweetgreen, which is a fast casual restaurant chain. And this company believes so much in their culture that they hire people before they need them to make sure they get the right people. They invest in their people with coaching, mentorship, and free meals, and all adds up to their purpose, which is inspiring healthier communities, which they also then demonstrate through in-school nutrition programs. So this company, Sweetgreen, is the first restaurant unicorn ever. Purpose delivers. The second thing to think about is flexibility. The thing that people demand when they come for an interview now is flexibility. And if you're not offering it, then the person down the road is, and they're going to get the better talent. So how are you enabling your employees to work however it is that they want to or they need to get their job done? How are you creating a culture that supports that flexibility? If you have people that work remotely, how are you enabling them to come in, build relationships so that they can work remotely, and how are you providing them the tools to do that? If you've got employees that have got a side hustle, how are you embracing that? Because that can bring significant learnings and development into your business. Or even better, how can you learn from Google and 3M, who offer 15 to 20% of employees' time to work on whatever they want to do? How are you creating entrepreneurship and profit share programs so you can bring that commercial upside back into your business? There's a world of opportunity there. And the third thing to think about today is technology. By 2022, over half of us here today will either need to completely reskill or upskill in our roles. So, what are we doing on our learning journey? What's our digital learning like? How are we taking our employees on this journey? We know that Lion Ventures, we're on an agile learning journey at the moment. We're working to go fully agile, and believe me, that's a learning journey. There's also institutes that are out there now, like the Tech Futures Lab, which is really actively working to support people on that digital learning journey and keep them up to speed. In fact, teams that are the better trained are the ones that are the more adaptable, better able to adopt technology and embrace that innovation curve and actually ultimately deliver better revenue and earnings for a company. So, that's it from me today. What I'd like to finish with is just cast your mind back again to the world 20 years ago with a Nokia 3210 and the fax machine, and then think about how different that is to today. And then think about what it could be in 20 years' time and the opportunity that that presents us all and what we all could be doing today to embrace that. Thank you very much.